And we're live. Thanks everyone for hanging out. This session is going to be the status of what's going on in both the Juju GUI and Juju Core itself. We like to do this session every single summit to keep the community aware of what's going on with Core and GUI, since there's so many things happening in the Juju world that we like to just have a consistent way to see what the big things are coming from a higher level, so you don't have to subscribe to all the commits to figure out what's going on. So with that, I have Rick Harding here and Alexis. Can you guys introduce yourselves real quick?
Yeah, sure. Thanks, George. I'm Rick Harding. I'm a team lead on the Juju UI engineering side. So I like to say we make Juju look pretty, put a pretty face on her. And yeah, I'm on the GUI front.
Okay.
And my name's Alexis Broomer. I am the engineering manager for Juju Core, which means that anything that you see in the Juju Core code base is my fault. But I'm not as cool as Rick. I'm not on the technical front. I am just the manager. But I'm here to give you an outline of our roadmap for the upcoming 6 months.
Excellent. So with that, Rick, you've been around the block a few times. You get to go first.
Alrighty then. All right. So I am first going to have a confession. I am doing this from an Apple computer right now, and I'm doing it on purpose. And so I would like to show you why. So I am going to screen share a terminal, and can you see that? And can you see that very Apple-ish terminal there? Well, the reason I'm doing that is because we are working right this week, actually today, packaging Juju QuickStart into Brew for OS X users. And so what's awesome about this is that you can get QuickStart right from your local Apple machine without having to go through a VM or whatnot to do this. It works just like it does on our Linux clients. You can list your environments. You can create new environments. You can go in. We can kill that. You can select environments to bootstrap. So let's use EC2 and bootstrap an instance here while that sits and runs. Notice that the version number is a beta right now because we're working on the release. One thing that's really cool for the OS X users that this gives you is the ability to use bundles. There's currently a bug with the SSL stuff with the deployer, which we'll also be updating here or trying to get updated shortly. But look for that this week and next. We've got it up on the PyPI G shop for Python, and we're working to get it approved by the Brew community so that you can Brew install Juju QuickStart, and you'll get QuickStart, Juju, and everything you need to run and manage your Juju environments from your native OS X platform. So when you combine that with the ability to use Safari, the UI team's done a lot of work, and we're going to keep doing some work to make sure that the OS X devs are happy Juju users. So, yay! While that runs in the background, what I was trying to get at with that is that the QuickStart gives you the ability to actually deploy bundles as well now. So previously you couldn't use the deployer on OS X, and you couldn't deploy bundles. So with one command, you can Juju QuickStart and give it a bundle name, and it will walk you through configuring your environment, bootstrapping your environment, deploying the GUI into it, opening the GUI up for you, logging you in automatically without you having to look for your admin secret, and then deploying the bundle. So talk about a Swiss Army knife of a tool. Hopefully you guys enjoy it. The other thing that we're working on is we've been doing some redesign work of the GUI. One thing people want is to have more space for their environment. So let me go back and actually screen share my actual browser window, I suppose, and kind of show off. You guys might recognize the Juju GUI. This is our beta site basically coming soon. We'll try to get this deployed and updated this week as well. We can go through and pull out MySQL and deploy it, and notice that you no longer have the floating inspector off on the right-hand side eating up half of your screen along with the browser. We've done work now to integrate the inspector into actually replacing in part of the sidebar. So you can go in here, you can close it, and get back to what you were looking at as far as charms and bundles or whatnot. Do a search. Open stuff up, go back and forth in a nice way. So we've got some other improvements to the inspector coming after this is released, and that will be some stuff to look forward to as far as some prettier, nice UI. The other thing I want to bring up, and this is the next really big feature, is the reason we're doing this, part of it is because we're introducing what we're calling machine view into the GUI. And so with machine view, let's go ahead and deploy this MongoDB cluster bundle here, and then voila, I always love that. We can go in and click on the machines tab up here. We'll have a service view and a machine view. And notice that in the machine view, I actually have all of the machines for every service installed showing up in here. I can go through and scale these up by picking which service I'd like to scale up and how many of them I would like. And I can go back to the service view. Let's say I want MySQL in here for some reason. I can now go back and I can actually manually place this MySQL unit and put it on an existing machine. So I can go through and actually create a container, or I can stick it on a new machine. And if we look, well, this is why it's not deployed yet. This is stuff that's coming not this week, but in the near future. It introduces a new idea down here about the deployer bar where we track our changes, because note, this MySQL service has no bar, no relations. It's not yet been deployed. So this will allow us to actually stage work that we're working on as we go. And when you go hit the deploy button, it shows you we're going to create a new service. We're going to add a unit for that service, and you can confirm that.
That is excellent, by the way, Rick.
And now we have it deployed, and now we have a machine 13, which is showing off that this is where MySQL lives. So this is the really big thing we've got coming. But it actually supports having this idea of work in progress, of uncommitted work. And so notice I can build a relation with this new WordPress service up to my existing MySQL service, but that relation doesn't exist yet. If I go hit deploy, it's going to tell me it's going to add a service, it's going to add a relation, and then add the unit as well. And so you can do work in chunks and track all that along. So this has been a really exciting ride, and we're going to be very happy to put this out, because this is really going to help us with the small developers who want to co-locate services, who want to scale down as well as scale up. Obviously, you go in a machine view, and I can say, you know what, forget that. I want 50 WordPress units, and we can go through and do that work. So very exciting stuff from us. So that's all stuff that's in the near future. Stuff in the long future, where we've got some extra work lined up for QuickStart. We want to enable MAS support. Currently, we don't have that, which is a big oversight on our part. And so we'll be correcting that this cycle. We've also got some additional GUI work to do some big performance improvements, and to add some much needed features, some visibility to things like the debug log, where you'll be able to actually, from the GUI, get at the log of your service when you deploy it and it fails to deploy and turns red. You can actually pull the log file. You will be able to pull the log file up and see why. There's a couple other small features. Juju's getting HA support, or has HA support, I guess I should say, but that's not exposed at all in the GUI, so we're going to do some work to catch up with Juju like we normally do around HA support. And then Juju's working on authentication logins, having more than just a single admin user, and we'll obviously be tracking with them on that and keeping up and allowing you to actually enter in a username and a password to get access to your Juju environment this cycle. That's the meat and potatoes of what I got there. What do you think, Alexis? Any questions, I guess, that I should answer? Or?
Yeah, I have a few questions, and we'll go ahead and give the IRC channel a second to catch up here.
Sure.
I'm going to ask you some questions, and I promise not to throw you under the bus. So we have QuickStart in Ubuntu, and we have it on OS 10 now. What's the plan for Windows? Because that's the one platform left.
That is, and we made some decisions early on. For instance, we use an ncurses terminal-based UI to give you the pretty UI, and that's really what we have to get to update and replace, right? And to do that on Windows is not really feasible. We've done some technical discussions about how to do it in Windows. We think we'll have to use a web browser approach where basically Juju QuickStart will have to run a web browser, a web server that will serve you an HTML file where you can edit and configure your environments, select them, and to trigger commands to actually bootstrap and do that kind of work. Bundles will have to be like a file, pick your bundle file or whatnot. Because of the different architecture to do that and enable it, it's a decent chunk of work that we've thought about and we've talked about and documented about, but it's not directly on our radar for this cycle. I do believe the hope is that next cycle it will be up front on the to-do list.
And as always, if someone is interested and very familiar with the Windows platform, we'd love to get any help.
Yeah, and I'll say, of all the code bases out there to work with, QuickStart is nice because it's a small Python, it's pure Python. And it's very well written. It's 100% unit test covered. If you break something, you'll know it. And the teams would be more than happy to help mentor someone along if they wanted to help get Windows support sooner.
Okay, yeah, that would be great. Looks like we don't have any questions in the channel. Good stuff, Rick. That machine view looks excellent. Especially the containers are kind of first-class citizens as well, right? So you can just really meant container.
Yeah, no,
right?
Yeah, you'll be able to pick whether your container's an LXC or a KVM, and it's stuff that I can't wait.
Yeah.
I wanted this, right? Like for my own use, I don't need a machine for every single thing that I run on my low scale stuff. So I'm really excited to get this out and be able to manage it.
Yeah, great. All right, thanks, Rick. Alexis, your turn.
All right. Well, I don't have pretty stuff to show like Rick does. But we are doing a ton of really exciting feature work in Core this cycle. And we've also have quite a bit of focus on turning Juju Core more into stable product ready release and building up based on just we've got a lot of great users really being used out in the field and definitely have gathered a ton of feedback from the last 6 months or so and have been using that to address usability, observability issues, and so a lot of focus on that as well. The big features for this cycle work around HA, which is completing actually this month. So not only will you have high availability, but it will be done in such a way where you have better logging and status and ability to report across state servers and have some consistency. As we had last cycle as well, in addition of backup and restore, definitely a lot of hardening around that, improving backup restore, addressing issues that were found in the field, and integrating in a way that makes it more maintainable for the long term. So those are additional work to bring other architectures, PowerPC specifically, at closer parity with AMD 64. So those are definitely things hardening Juju, making it more usable, better for the customers. On top of that, we're looking at some big features this cycle. Rick already mentioned multi-user support on the state server. So at this point, you can log in as an admin. We're going to make that more finer grained, allow multiple users. We are going to provide support for a multi-environment state server, which means that you can have multiple state servers in one environment. A bunch of work around that. It's a big, exciting feature coming up. Another one that is taking a good chunk of the developers' time is a lot around networking support. Initial work for adding container networking on EC2 and VPC support, starting the network model, hopefully making it complete with MAS essentially means right now Juju assumes that everything is flat, and providing a base networking model that allows Juju to grow understanding of subnets and network topology and infrastructure that's available in a particular environment. So hopefully by the end of the 6 months we will see that come to fruition, at least on MAS. A lot on internal storage and resources, so that charms should be able to define one or more streams of resources and have the ability to have internal storage. That's a big one, and definitely will make for better abilities and flexibility for users. Some collaborative efforts. We're working with IBM on a Tosca engagement. The big thing there is having a Tosca deployment engine in Juju, so that's pretty exciting. We're actually part of the Oasis network and working directly with Oasis on Tosca specs and working with IBM to make Tosca and Juju work together and have a deployment engine for Tosca and Juju, so that's exciting. Some other big ones this cycle, support, which was actually mentioned at UDS, or at ODS, but support for non-Ubuntu workloads is very exciting, and will be happening this cycle. Additional work on availability zones. We actually almost have that to completion, so another big feature for this cycle. So, and with all of that, the team is going to be pretty busy.
Awesome. We'll go ahead and give the IRC channel a second here to catch up, to ask questions. And Break, I have
Alexis,
a follow-up as well.
Yeah, Alexis, did you want to mention at all as far as the release timeline? I know it's been a little bit since their last release, and we've got some good stuff coming up in the near future.
Yeah, so near future, we'll have a 120 release that we're targeting for 6/20 of this month, and in that release you will see the availability zones. You will see the additional work around HA for logging and status. And you will see quite a bit of work around what we're calling the Juju hardening, which essentially is just taking customer feedback that we've gathered for the last 6 months or so and addressing those issues. So that's primary. Well, I guess another thing that I should mention that has already happened is that Juju Core has moved to GitHub. So that has been very exciting. We've gotten wonderful feedback from some of our partners that we work with, and we also have started getting community contributions from random folks that actually haven't contributed to Juju Core before. So that's exciting, and definitely move towards a stronger community.
Not bad. So far, 112 stars and 36 forks. 35 forks is not a bad place to start.
No.
I have a question about the multi-state server, because I've had people ask, can you kind of explain that in a way I could understand it? Like
I will do the best I can.
What features does that enable to me, that like multi-state server? Like, what problem was I having before where I needed a multi-state server?
So current state servers are limited to supporting a single environment.
Okay.
To decrease the administrative and machine cost overhead for large Juju environments within a company, we'll create support for true multi-tenancy state servers, including support for HA and single node state servers.
Okay. Yeah, so if I can help out, so I think the number one thing is, like, everyone wants their stuff to not go down, right? So you want HA, but HA means more machines. So let's say you're gonna have 5 machines in your HA setup. Now, if you had that for one environment, and every environment needed 5 HA machines in order to be truly HA, that gets expensive in a hurry, right? Whereas if you can take those 5 machines and spread them across 20 environments that the company or your team are using, right, then that cost of 5 machines is actually less than the 20 single machines you used to have in your environments. So right off the bat, you get stability and a cost scale, which is much nicer and approachable. And down the road, it'll let us do things like actually enable keeping track of users in the multi-tenant state server, and those users will track across all the environments that are ever bootstrapped and run, right? So it lets us do some much more, we can call them commercially, or not even commercially, but corporate-like installs and setups for scale up, which is something that's really important.
Okay, so from the end user perspective, Bootstrap nodes will be able to support multiple environments, and I won't have to have.
Right.
It won't be so segmented, right? This set of HA Bootstrap nodes will support everything I need.
Yeah.
And
when you talk about things like charm resources, let's say you've got a giant, ISO you need or something, or a giant, 2 gig file that you want in a certain charm. And
right.
You have to put that that goes in the state server stuff when you have a charm from there. And if you can share that for your 20 environments in one location that's HA and copied, and you don't have to upload that 2 gig file to every single environment, there's some savings there. It really, it's in a way, it's kind of, it's not totally sexy or whatnot, but I think it really opens up a lot of things that people, would really like when they realize it.
Right. Like for us, for some of our charms, we have to have 422 megs of IBM Java. We have to copy around everywhere, and that starts to add up. I mean, that's okay. Thank you for explaining that. That makes it a lot clearer to me. Rick, you've received a question. I'm going to go ahead and just open it up for anybody in the channel that wants to ask. Do you have a plan to make it possible to deploy a bundle containing local charms? I know. It's been a favorite topic of yours.
Yeah, we actually said, you know what, this is really important. Let's do it. And we fixed a bug we had in QuickStart, and then in the deployer, and then we chased it down to another bug and a third bug, and then we ended up finding out that it was kind of a shortcoming in Juju core as a whole, because when you do a bundle, normally you specify, I want this charm for this series at this revision number so that it's very predictable. And with a local charm, Juju does a trick where every time, because we want this to work nicely for charm development, every time you upload a new version of a charm, Juju auto-increments that version number. And it's not really exposed out real well. And the API to, say, deploy something doesn't let us get at it very well. And so we've got to coordinate with Juju Core to find some good solutions for this. And we've got some long-term stuff that will get us there, and I don't know if we have a short-term plan that would enable it. So I guess I have a really awful answer for you. I feel your pain, and it's something we're aware of and we've done investigation on, and I don't have a short-term answer as far as, yes, this will be ready here. It's still stuff we have to define and work out. So.
Okay. Uru Lama asked a question. This one's for you, Alexis. Will it be possible to link charms from different environments in a multi-environment system, aka cross-environment relations? It's the day of tough questions today.
I'm not sure if that's a question I'm going to be able to answer.
I can help with the fact that cross-environment relations have been on our radar for a while. Yep. However, without a multi-tenant state server, it's not been something that is very easy to really work out and figure out the use cases and the models of how to implement it and represent it properly. And I think that cross-environment relations will be a very hot topic next cycle after we get multi-tenant state servers and things this cycle. So I think it's a stepping stones, and we're on a stone right before really getting into cross-environment relations.
I was going to say, and I'm hesitant to answer any details on that because we don't have details on design until the multi-environment state server is functional and complete.
So we're still laying the groundwork.
Correct.
Yes.
So the ultimate goal is we would be able to do that, but timeframes and what that's going to look like, I don't have an answer for.
Right. Any other questions? Just give it another 30 seconds and then we can wrap it up here. Real quick, while we wait for questions, can you guys let us know where people can get information on status updates? GitHub is a really nice feature that lets me just follow the commits, which is nice. and I've also noticed that Curtis does a really great job during the release, kind of summarizing without you having to go through all that spam. So those of you that are not on the Juju mailing list, which is usually mostly charm related, the Juju-dev mailing list is where core things are happening. And GUI, do you guys have a list?
So yeah, we have a GUI list, which is actually pretty low traffic, honestly. The best places to get a hold of us, as far as if you want to chat with us, IRC is the best thing. We're all in IRC, and we eat, sleep, and breathe it. That's the #Juju-GUI channel on Freenode. We do have a WordPress blog here where we tend to put our weekly retrospective notes, important things. When we do a release, we'll note it with the release there. So you expect to see a couple new posts this week when we release updated QuickStart and when we release the updated GUI with the inspector on the left and such. I'll also say one thing that we've been talking about that we're going to try to do is to, right now, the way we do our work is with a 2-week iteration where we plan a certain amount of work for 2 weeks. We then work on it, and then at the end we kind of evaluate how we did. And one of my goals starting this cycle is to actually write out, what did we get done this 2-week cycle? How did it go? What steps did we move forward and whatnot? And that'll probably be better than watching the commit history, which you're free to do on GitHub, but it will be a more condensed, feature-related kind of thing, which I don't have yet because we just kind of decided this past week to start doing that, and we're in the middle of our first week of our 2-week cycle right now. So next week, next Friday, I suppose, keep an eye out for a write-up along those lines.
Yeah, I've started. I think a trick I've learned is to read the pull request instead of just a changelog, because otherwise you get no context. I was like, I have no idea what that guy's talking about. So, if you just follow the project, you kind of get a nice little feel for what's going on there without getting knee deep in changelogs. Just enough to learn what's going on, which is good. And with that, we've got all the links to all the websites out. IRC again is #Juju, #Juju-dev, and #Juju-GUI. But if that's too many for you, just go to #Juju, and most everyone's on all those channels. And if you totally get lost, you can always talk to me, and I'll make sure you get talking to the right person. And with that, that concludes the status for this cycle. We'll see everyone in... there is one more question. Someone said about multi-user support. He's asking, are we talking about connecting to an LDAP server? How does multiple users work? Are you gonna?
Do you want to do that, Alexis? Then, or I can. This is the multi-user support is early, and the initial thought is via the Juju command line to be able to help define users. And we definitely have our eye on things like LDAP support and such down the road. But for this first initial cut of stuff, it's a very Juju-contained, centralized idea of users for the moment.
Okay.
Yep.
And then I'll ask you about Active Directory support for that next time then.
Yeah.
I was going to say that for
Isn't that what LDAP is?
Sure.
For the next six months, what we're doing around multi-user support is very much command line, being able to add a user that's not admin. Very simple. And it will get more complex in other tiers. But whether or not LDAP is going to be involved, we don't know yet.
Okay, so that's certainly a question for next time. And with that, we'll go ahead and close it up. Thanks for coming in and keeping us apprised. And you guys will know where to find us in IRC. We'll go ahead and get this published and share it out with the mailing list for those people that weren't able to participate. So with that, thanks everyone, and have a good day.